Lie down right now. Put your legs straight up against a wall, feet toward the ceiling, and just wait. Do nothing else. In 5 minutes, your ankles will look thinner. Your heart rate will drop, and somewhere behind your eyes, in a nerve most people have never consciously felt, your entire nervous system will shift gear. This is not a stretch. It is not a workout. It is closer to hitting a reset button on a plumbing system that has been fighting gravity since the moment you got out of bed. And once you understand what is actually happening under your skin, you will wonder why nobody told you to put your legs in the air sooner. Here is what nobody tells you about being upright. Every hour you spend standing, sitting, walking, simply existing vertically, gravity is quietly working against your circulation. By evening, some of that fight shows up as puffy ankles, heavy calves, a dull ache behind the knees. Do your shoes feel tighter at 6 in the evening than they did at 8 in the morning? Do your legs feel like they are made of wet sand by the time you finally sit down for dinner? Do you wake up with a faint groove pressed into your ankle from a sock that fit perfectly fine when you put it on? I spent a month testing 5 minutes of leg elevation every single day, measuring what actually changed and what did not. Not the influencer version, not the vague it is good for circulation version. The real physiology, the veins, the valves, the fluid, and a nerve that talks directly to your heart. Let us get into what is really happening when you lift your legs above your heart. Here is what is actually happening inside your legs every time you stand up in the morning. Blood is heavy. It has weight. It has mass. And gravity pulls on every milliliter of it, the same way it pulls on everything else. When you are lying down, your heart does not have to fight much to move blood around. Your whole body is roughly level with itself. The moment you stand up, your legs become the bottom of a very tall column of fluid, and your heart has to push blood nearly a meter uphill against gravity, then somehow get it back down again through veins that have almost no pressure left to work with. That is the real engineering problem your body solves. Quietly. Every day. Juries have an easy job here. They carry blood away from the heart under high pressure, so gravity barely slows them down. Veins have a miserable job. By the time blood has delivered its oxygen and started the return trip up through your calves, thighs, and pelvis, the pressure pushing it forward has dropped to almost nothing. So your veins rely on 2 backup systems instead. The first is a network of one-way valves, tiny flaps inside the vein that snap shut behind each pulse of blood so it cannot slide back down. The second is your calf muscle, often called the second heart, which squeezes the deep veins in your lower leg every time you take a step, shoving blood upward one contraction at a time. Your foot has a smaller version of the same trick, sometimes called the foot pump, but the calf does most of the heavy lifting. Sit still 4 hours, or stand still 4 hours, and that second heart stops helping. The valves are left to hold an entire column of blood on their own, against gravity, for as long as you stay upright and motionless. Physiologists can measure exactly how much pressure that column creates. For every centimeter of height, blood exerts roughly 0.77 millimeters of mercury of hydrostatic pressure. By the time you get down to the veins in your ankle, roughly 90 centimeters below your heart, that pressure can climb past 80 millimeters of mercury, nearly as high as your resting blood pressure, just aimed outward against the vein wall instead of forward through it. That pressure does not stay contained. It pushes fluid straight through the walls of your smallest blood vessels, the capillaries, out into the surrounding tissue. This is basic capillary physics, first mapped out by the physiologist Ernest Starling in the 1890s. Fluid moves out of a capillary when hydrostatic pressure, the physical push of blood, outweighs oncotic pressure, the pull exerted by proteins in your blood trying to hold fluid inside the vessel. Under normal conditions, those 2 forces stay close to balanced. Stand or sit still for 9 hours with gravity stacking pressure against your ankle veins and hydrostatic pressure wins. Fluid leaks out faster than it is reabsorbed. That fluid has to go somewhere and settles in the soft tissue around your ankles and feet. That is the puffiness. That is the sock groove. Your lymphatic system is supposed to clean that fluid up. Tiny lymph capillaries absorb the leaked fluid and slowly walk it back towards your heart, filtering it through lymph nodes along the way. But your lymphatic system has no pump of its own. No lymph heart, no built-in muscle wall doing the pushing. It depends almost entirely on the squeeze of your skeletal muscles, and the pressure changes from your breathing to move at all. Sit motionless at a desk, and lymph fluid barely crawls. It backs up behind the venous system, which is already backed up itself. Now flip the picture. Put your legs up against a wall, feet above the level of your heart, and that entire hydrostatic column reverses direction. Instead of blood and fluid fighting gravity to get back to your chest, gravity is now pulling them there for free. Imagine trying to drain a garden hose that has been laid uphill. Water barely trickles, no matter how hard you squeeze it. Now point that same hose downhill. It empties almost immediately, with no extra effort at all. Your leg veins, still holding that pooled blood from a day of standing and sitting, are suddenly pointed downhill. The pressure that had climbed past 80 millimeters of mercury at your ankle starts falling, often below 20 within just a few minutes, and Starling's balance of forces flits with it. Fluid that had leaked into your ankle tissue gets pulled back into circulation. Your sluggish lymphatic system, still relying on gravity and movement, suddenly gets gravity handed to it as a gift instead of an obstacle. There is another, less obvious response that happens almost immediately. As several hundred milliliters of blood move from your legs back towards your chest, the amount of blood around your heart and major blood vessels temporarily increases. For a brief moment, your heart has more blood to pump than it did just a minute earlier. Pressure sensors called baroreceptors, clustered in your carotid sinus in the neck and your aortic arch near the heart, detect that rise instantly. This reflex was mapped out in detail by the physiologist Cornel Heymans, who won a Nobel Prize in 1938 for showing exactly how these sensors regulate blood pressure and heart rate in real time. The baroreceptors fire signals up through the vagus and glossopharyngeal nerves to a control center in your brainstem, which responds by slowing your heart rate and dialing back the tension in your blood vessels. Your nervous system, in other words, reads more blood where it belongs as a signal to relax, shifting you toward a parasympathetic, rest and digest state within minutes, not hours. That is a whole hidden mechanism, stacked in layers. Gravity reversing a pressure column, Starling forces pulling fluid back where it belongs, an idle lymphatic system finally getting gravity's help, and a nerve reflex reading the whole event as a cue to calm your entire body down. I tested this on myself for 30 days. Before I started, I measured my ankle circumference at the end of a typical 9-hour workday spent mostly on my feet or sitting at a desk. Consistently around 24.5 centimeters, tight enough that my sock left a visible groove I could still see an hour later. Every evening for a month, before I did anything else, no phone, no dinner, nothing. I lay on the floor with my legs up against the wall for 5 minutes, feet above heart level. By day 10, the sock groove was gone when I checked. By day 30, my end-of-day ankle measurement had dropped to about 23.8 centimeters, night after night. Not dramatic, but consistent. What surprised me more was what happened in the 15 seconds after standing back up. No head rush, no dizziness, just a strange lightness in my calves, like I would been quietly wearing ankle weights all day without noticing, and someone had just taken them off. So why does this work as well as it does? Let us break down the actual reasons, one at a time. Reason number 1. Venous pressure relief. Standing or sitting 4 hours lets hydrostatic pressure build in your ankle veins until it can reach 80 to 90 millimeters of mercury. Pressure your vein walls have to physically resist all day, every day. Elevate your legs, and that same pressure can fall below 20 millimeters within minutes. Vascular medicine research consistently shows that raising the legs above heart level measurably lowers venous pressure and reduces the visible swelling that builds up over a normal day. The standing all-day version of your veins is stretched, strained, and working overtime. The elevated version of your veins is coasting, doing almost nothing because gravity finally switched sides. Reason number 2, lymphatic drainage. Your lymph vessels have no pump of their own, so they depend on gravity and muscle movement to keep fluid moving. Sit at a desk all day, and lymph fluid crawls back towards your heart at whatever pace your occasional shifting and breathing can manage. Elevate your legs, and gravity does the pulling instead of your lymphatic system having to fight for every inch. That same garden hose, still draining, just faster now that nothing is fighting the slope. Less fluid stuck in your ankle tissue means less visible puffiness and less of that heavy, waterlogged feeling by the end of the day. Reason number 3. A fast shift toward your parasympathetic nervous system. The moment central blood volume rises, baroreceptors in your neck and chest fire off signals that slow your heart rate and relax your blood vessels. Research on baroreflex activation consistently links it to a measurable drop in heart rate and a shift toward parasympathetic dominance within minutes of the trigger. This is part of why 5 minutes with your legs up can feel disproportionately calming compared to 5 minutes of just lying flat with your legs level. The elevation itself is the trigger, not just the rest. Reason number 4. Relief for people who spend their day on their feet. Nurses, teachers, retail workers, servers, anyone whose job keeps them upright for 8 or 9 hours, deal with the most extreme version of this hydrostatic pressure problem, day after day, year after year. Many people in these jobs report that a short leg elevation session at the end of shift measurably reduces the heaviness and aching in their calves compared to sitting with legs level. The mechanism lines up with everything above. Less pooled blood, less leaked fluid, faster lymphatic return, all concentrated in the exact tissue that took the most punishment that day. Reason number 5. A better on-ramp to sleep. Do this in the last half hour before bed, and you are stacking the parasympathetic shift from the baroreflex on top of your body's natural evening drop in heart rate and core temperature. Fewer people fall asleep with heavy, restless legs when the venous pooling from the day has already been drained before their head hits the pillow. It is not a sedative. It is a nervous system that has already been told, physically, that it is safe to slow down. Now, a few practical things worth knowing before you turn this into a daily habit. Mistake number 1. Propping your legs at an awkward, unstable angle instead of flat against a solid wall. If your legs are wobbling to stay up, your muscles are working instead of resting, which cancels out part of the benefit. Mistake number 2. Doing this right after a large meal. Lying flat with a full stomach can cause reflux or discomfort, and it works against the relaxed, parasympathetic state you are trying to create. Mistake number 3. Holding your breath or tensing your shoulders and jaw the whole time. The nervous system benefit depends on your body reading the position as safe and restful. Shallow, held breathing sends the opposite signal. Mistake number 4. Treating 5 minutes of leg elevation as a substitute for moving during the day. This resets the damage. It does not prevent it from building back up. The calf muscle pumps still need regular movement to do its job. If you want to progress this beyond the basic version, there are a few natural next steps. Start with legs flat and straight against the wall for 5 minutes, nothing else. Once that feels easy, add slow ankle circles and gentle toe pumps for the first minute, which engage the calf muscle pump even while you are elevated and speed up drainage further. From there, extend the session to 10 or 15 minutes and add slow diaphragmatic breathing, in for 4 counts, out for 6, which pairs with the baroreflex shift and deepens the parasympathetic effect. Finally, some people place a folded blanket or cushion under their hips, lifting the pelvis slightly higher than the shoulders, a small adjustment that increases the drainage angle even further. A few safety notes matter here too. If you are pregnant past the first trimester, lying flat on your back can compress a major vein and reduce blood flow. A side-lying position with legs elevated on a cushion is the safer version. If you have a diagnosed or suspected blood clot in your leg, talk to a doctor before starting any leg elevation routine, since the right approach depends on where the clot is. If you have uncontrolled high blood pressure, a heart condition, or glaucoma, check with a doctor first, since shifting blood volume centrally has changed pressure in the vessels near your heart and eyes. And if you ever feel dizzy or lightheaded, come down slowly, bend your knees, roll to one side, and sit up gradually rather than popping straight up. There is a bigger system connected to all of this that most people never think about. Every time hydrostatic pressure spikes in your ankle veins and pushes those valves to their limit, it is a tiny amount of mechanical wear. Do that every day for years, especially in jobs that keep people standing for most of their shift, and those valves can start to fail. Blood leaks backward between heartbeats instead of moving forward. Pressure in the vein climbs even higher at rest, and over time that is part of how varicose veins and chronic venous insufficiency develop. 5 minutes of daily elevation does not just relieve today's swelling. It is a small, repeated reversal of the exact mechanical stress that wears those valves down in the first place. And because your lymphatic system carries immune cells along with fluid, keeping that drainage moving efficiently is not just cosmetic. It is part of how your body keeps its immune surveillance running through the tissue that takes the most abuse every single day: your legs. So here is the whole routine, distilled down to something you can do tonight. Step 1. Lie on your back on the floor, ideally somewhere with a clear wall nearby. Step 2. Scoot your hips close to the wall, close enough that your legs can rest fully against it. Step 3. Extend your legs straight up, feet toward the ceiling, letting the wall take their full weight. Step 4. Rest your arms at your sides, palms up, and let your shoulders drop. Step 5. Breathe slowly for 5 minutes, longer if you've had the time. Step 6. When you are done, bend your knees, roll gently onto one side, and sit up slowly rather than all at once. Here is the recap. Fast, venous pressure drops. Leaked fluid gets pulled back where it belongs. Your lymphatic system finally gets gravity on its side. Your heart rate settles. Your whole nervous system leans toward calm. Swollen ankles, heavy calves, that end-of-day waterlogged feeling, that is the whole list of what 5 minutes upside down can undo. If this changed how you think about something as simple as putting your legs up, hit like and subscribe to Feynman Decoded. There is more of this kind of hidden mechanism waiting under things you already do every day. Try it tonight, and drop a comment on what you notice, especially if you measure your ankles before and after. And send this to the person in your life who is on their feet all day: a parent working retail, a nurse finishing a 12-hour shift, anyone who comes home with tight shoes and heavy legs. Your circulatory system has been fighting gravity since the moment you woke up this morning. Give it 5 minutes, upside down, and let it finally win.